Everybody uses pencils in one way or another, if only to make a laundry list, or to chew on when puzzling over an examination question. But a long time ago, I discovered that the pencil has more satisfying possibilities. I took up the study of pencil sketching as a serious medium of art expression, and have used it continually over many years for pleasure and profit. If you adopt the pencil merely as a hobby, you'll find it very rewarding. Here's one of my sketchbooks, for instance. I call it a pictorial diary. It goes along with me when my wife and I are on a vacation trip. Now, of course, a camera will do lots that you can't do with your pencil. But you'll discover that your pencil sketch has a special kind of magic. That is because it has you in it, as well as the thing you have drawn. Furthermore, your sketch has a way of collecting all the events and the flavor of the day it was made, and preserving them for you forever. Take this sketch of an old tugboat rotting at her last moorings in South Bristol, Maine. That was the day of the picnic at Christmas Cove, the county fair, and the tumble that resulted in an infected knee. Well, here's a scrub pine that I drew near Pemaquid Light in Maine, which we first saw on a foggy day, a very dramatic experience. And then here is a palm tree made in Florida, one of the hardest trees to draw, in my opinion. Yes, your pencil, once you've fallen in love with it, will give you a lot of pleasure. For many years, I've used the pencil for illustrative purposes. I did a series of over 100 drawings for a pencil company to demonstrate in their advertisements the great versatility of this medium. Here is one of the drawing of an Ionic capital. A very good example of the Broadstroke technique, a technique that I particularly favor. But, of course, you can't use a Broadstroke technique in doing a weeping beach. Here we have grace and delicacy, a treatment that calls for the use of point rather than a broad stroke. Well, here's an even different technique. This oriental head, a bit of sculpture. You see, it looks perhaps a little like a charcoal drawing. And then, still another contrast, a rather dramatic one, the handling of this interior, which called for a very meticulous line and tonal treatment. Now, in a few moments, I'm going to make a drawing for you, and you'll see how it progresses step by step. But first, I want to give you a few general directions. First, the pencils. You see, I have a handful of pencils. Some are very soft, some are harder leads, and some in between. Why so many pencils? Well, sometimes you can do very nicely with a single lead. But at times, you may need two, 3, of 4 or perhaps even more pencils. For instance, I'm going to show you this chart. This chart will demonstrate why we so often do need several leads. Here is where I should remind you that the kind of paper you draw on is as important as the pencils themselves. This chart is made on the paper that you usually buy in the art shop. It has a slight roughness, or tooth, as we say. The roughness explains why your soft pencil, skimming lightly over its surface in making the light tones, gives you a grained effect, which we usually don't want. Sometimes we do. To get a smooth quality tone on this rough paper, you need to take a harder pencil, which will bear down hard and iron out that rough surface and give you a good smooth tone, like this. Now, the intermediate pencils will give you good tones in different places. With the soft pencil, you see, you get your best tone here. With the hard pencil, you get your best tone there. With your intermediate pencils, you see, you get tones relatively like this. Now, I'm going to make a sketch for you and let you watch it develop step by step. We'll imagine ourselves on the Maine coast, and in order to strengthen our imagination, we'll have before us this photograph of a scene on the beach at Cape Porpoise, Maine. This is a good subject. An old lobsterman shack, a few boats, the rock-strewn beach with the tide out. Now you can draw from a photograph as creatively as from the scene itself, if you are creative. So this picture will serve nicely for our subject. Now you see I have several sheets of paper here underneath the paper that I'm going to draw on. That's very important because it gives a soft, resilient surface for your pencil, so much better than working on a hard surface. Now I've already made a drawing of this from this subject so that you could see just how I've handled it, changing certain things here that I think will improve the sketch. For instance, this is all very dark and drab. You notice in the sketch that I've made the side of the shack quite a little lighter so that I get some light and shade here. I've taken the ugly tar paper roof off and shown the old battered shingles underneath. And I've also removed these trees back here so that the lobster traps will silhouette against the sky. That'll be a lot more interesting, I think. You see, I've already made a line drawing of the subject so that it'll save a little time. Now what we're going to begin to draw is this very dark pattern of shadow underneath here and on the boat, along up in here, and on this side of the shed. I always like to start with the darkest things in the picture first. To draw these dark shadows in here, I'm using a very soft pencil. And you notice I have another scrap of paper. That's very important. Try your pencil and see just what kind of tone it's going to give you. Now I'll just go right along in this dark shadow under here, making it all about the same value as it is in the picture. On the boat, and underneath this platform, underneath the roof of the shack, and running all along here underneath the buildings, this same dark shadow tone, not making very much difference in it. You notice the pencil makes a very broad stroke here. That's a very practical thing because you cover a lot of space in a short time. I'm letting it get a little bit lighter out here to the edge of the picture, you know. Now I think I ought to emphasize once more the importance of paper, because unless you use the right kind of paper, you won't get the good results that you're after. Now I have a little harder pencil. This pencil, you see, is a trifle harder than that one. I've tried it on my paper here to make sure that it makes a good flat stroke, kind of a smooth, broad stroke that I want to make. I'm making the door a little bit lighter with the same pencil. Now I go up to the roof to do those broken shingles. Putting those patches in both ways there just to give a broken effect of the old shingled roof. You see, I'm keeping my pencil stroke very broad, making a good smooth tone. I don't cover that whole roof. Now you see I'm doing something with this foreground. And by the way, it's getting out of the picture sometimes is harder than getting into the picture. You see, as we work out toward the edges, we lighten our tones and don't carry the tone clear out to the edge of the picture. It usually looks a little more interesting if we do that. So this light tone here, you'll carry along to the box and over toward the boat, and fill a little tone in there, and then get back here into the distance to indicate the trees and a few little buildings there, and then some of this projecting land here which rises above the tide. I haven't said anything about erasers, and this kind of an eraser is very useful. It's a kneaded rubber, and it's the only rubber I ever use on pencil. It's by far better than a hard rubber. Then about this time, I like to use a sharper point of the pencil. I've turned it over. You see, I've been working on the flat. Now I turn it over. I want to call your attention at this point to certain differences in my sketch and in the finished drawing. You see, there are little refinements here, lines drawn along the edge of the boards like this, and up on the roof, and all through the drawing, refinements that we don't have time to put in this demonstration sketch. But in finishing the sketch, we must have some clouds in the sky, because the picture needs that in its composition. You notice I'm holding the pencil on its flat edge in order to do that, and oftentimes you can cover a lot of ground that way and get rather a pleasing effect. Here. Well, that looks easy, doesn't it? As a matter of fact, it isn't as difficult as you might think. It'll take some effort. Yes, but when you're in love, as you must be when you begin to learn how to use your pencils, all the effort and patience you put into it will reward you handsomely. So, good luck and happy sketching.